beautiful. It's beautiful, isn't it? An email or something. All right. Well, for whatever viewers are on YouTube, hey guys. I was driving today, ran to the store, and during my trip to the store, I had a parable rise up in my heart. I wrote it down, and I want to start by sharing that with you. And before I share that with you, I just want to kind of talk about a few things with you guys, and then we'll open up for whatever questions you guys may have. And so it's amazing to me how busy our minds are getting. Even for myself, I know there are sometimes when I notice my mind is just busy. There's just things to be done, meetings and messages and emails, and there's just so much to be done. Laundry needs to be done, and the dishes need to be done, and the house needs to be cleaned, and Beth wants attention, and the kids want to play, and people want to talk, and people have questions, and there's just a continual list, it seems. And the mind, so busy with those things. Even if there isn't a list, the mind is busy. I was telling Brent the other day, I don't know what you're pointing at. I was telling Brent the other day that anytime, the busier the mind, the more that's on the mind, the more you think, the more you are thinking, the more weight you carry, the more burdens you carry. The more you think about a thing, the more labored or difficult it becomes to do. And while I've been teaching this and sharing this with you guys for quite some time, I also am aware that there are a large number of people that, first of all, don't understand these things. And secondly, if they do understand them, if they do know them, let's say know them, understand that they have some sort of information, they do have information, then they have taken that information, but even in that place, the mind is still very busy. It is just busy with thoughts. It's busy with judgments. Continually making a judgment on every person you see, on everything that you see, on every situation. I think it was a couple weeks ago when we were coming back from the silent retreat, and we stopped at a restaurant. When I was pulling out of the restaurant, there was an old lady who just stopped in the middle of the highway to wait for me to pull out because she couldn't somehow figure out how to manage to make the right-hand turn into the parking lot where the lane was with me in my lane. She couldn't figure it out. So she just stopped. Traffic's just coming to a halt behind it. Like, you don't do that. It's not. And I remember I said something along the lines of, "My God, you shouldn't be driving," or something like that. And then immediately within me rose, "Who are you to make this judgment?" What a silly thing to make a judgment. Now, this judgment did not hurt her. That statement, that judgment might be factual. I mean, if we're going to factually look at this woman's ability to drive, she clearly doesn't understand how to drive, right? How many times have you been on the highway and you've said that? Or thought it? My God, you should not be driving, bro. Get off the road, right? So I'm having that situation, but immediately when I make those kind of judgments, immediately what rises within me is immediately I recognize I am laboring. To make the judgment is causing a mental strain or burden. Now, most people, let me say this, all people, not most. When I say people, I'm talking about the persona, I'm talking about the ego. All people make judgments because the person is living in a dual world. And so every person is making a judgment of some sort. The more judgments you make, the more burdens you carry. Now, you may be so used to making those judgments that you're unaware that you're making those judgments. And you may be so used to carrying the burdens of those judgments that you're unaware of those burdens. You might think you're free. You might think your mind is empty, and yet you're carrying burden after burden after burden. You're weighted down, you're yoked down with burdens from all the judgments that are being made. The person will always make a judgment. So the mind is naturally doing this. The mind is continually making judgment. And it looks out at this tree outside, and it immediately makes the judgment of tree. Not all judgments are, there's not bad. I don't say any judgments are bad. They're just judgments. And when you make judgments, you eventually carry the burden of the judgment. So you think tree. Then you might make, the thought might go to a very specific form of that tree. So we'll think maple tree. That's a maple tree. And then your mind, because you've received all that information, and then your mind might even have received the information that of green, you know, the color green. And so you think that is a green maple tree. Our mind is continually labeling things and judging things. At the very nature of this, what we would call a tree or a maple tree, is beyond the label, right? We understand that it is beyond the label. That the truest essence of this is energy. This tree is actually energy. So tree is just a label. It's not actually a tree. If you see this thing as a tree, you're missing the heart of what this thing is. You're missing the essence of what this thing is. You understand? If you see this thing as a maple tree, you're missing the essence of what that is. If you see it as green, you're missing the essence of what it is. These are all ideas. These are all labels. These are all concepts. We understand this, right? Okay. But the mind is continually doing that. Nothing wrong with this. They'll say, look at that tree. Look at this beautiful maple tree out there. Look how green it is. Nothing wrong with that, because we're just using those labels to communicate something. However, when we believe that it is a tree, now we're going to carry the burden of it. I'm going to tell you a story. You might think to yourself, how is it a burden? How is it a burden to judge that? How would it be a burden? How could it become burdensome? The more the mind is actively engaged in these sorts of judgments, the heavier it gets, the more clouded it gets, the harder it is to see clearly. Okay? The more your vision is blurred. Some people might go as far as to believe that tree is really an extraterrestrial. Might be convinced that tree is an alien from the planet and that they believe it so much so that they begin to teach that all maple trees are actually aliens from the planet. And so now they're teaching, and they can develop quite the following, that maple trees are aliens from the planet, and when you're around them, you must be quiet, you must pay homage to them, and that when you touch the roots of the maple tree, these aliens from the planet, that all of a sudden your DNA is cleansed. That doesn't mean it's true, does it? Does that mean it's true at all? And the answer is absolutely not. It doesn't mean it's true. That's ridiculous. You would immediately make the judgment, that's ridiculous. And that every single one of you has at some point made some sort of stupid judgment that something is real that is not. And all of it exists in your imagination. It is an illusion in your imagination. Maple tree is an illusion in your imagination in the exact same way that as if you thought that tree was an alien from the planet. That is no more an illusion than to say that is a maple tree. And if you looked at the person that said this tree is a alien from the planet, and you said, no, that is a maple tree, I'm telling you right now that it is both. They are both illusionary. They're both, neither one of those things are real. It's illusionary. Now, it might be delusional to say that it is an alien from the planet, because we understand that this seed that is this tree did not come from a planet, probably. Maybe it did. Either way, it's illusionary. It's in your mind. Tree is in your mind. It's a label. Green is in your mind. It's an idea. It's a concept. Maple is in your mind. It's a concept. Somebody saw this tree and they classified it as a maple tree. What was it before it was a maple tree? What was it before it was a tree? Before the first person looked at it and said, we'll call it a tree, what was it?
Beautiful.
And if it can be, but that's a beautiful. So let's say, okay, she says it's a beautiful tree. It's beautiful. What if somebody thought it was ugly?
They're wrong.
No, see, that's exactly what your mind does. This is my point. No, I'm glad she said that, because this is my point, because this is what your mind does. Your mind says beautiful. And if it can be beautiful, then someone else's mind can think it's ugly, and now you're fighting with that person. I'm right, it's beautiful. No, I'm right, it's ugly. And now we're caught up in a world of right and wrong, aren't we? But if you can just recognize that your mind is saying that you are feeling that it is beautiful, wonderful. Now what happens when you see that all things are beautiful? And not beautiful in the sense of having the opposite. It's not good in the sense that it's good and that there's the opposite of good that is evil. It's not right or wrong. It's not good or evil. It's just good. What happens if you see that thing as beautiful, but it's not beautiful in the sense that there is an ugly. So it's not beautiful because you're attracted to it or because the mind is attracted to it, but just because you know that it is. And all things that are beautiful. What happens when the shift takes place in your mind? I'm gonna share the story with you that I wrote earlier today. There was a young man who moved from a northern state, Wisconsin, all the way to Texas. And he bought a home in Texas in a nice neighborhood. It was a small home, but it was a nice home nonetheless. And this home happened to be on a lot where there was a magnificent oak tree that stood just between the driveway and the home. And this oak tree was magnificent. And during the hottest part of the year, this oak tree would offer shade to both the home and the driveway during the hottest part of the day. And it was the only lot in the neighborhood that had a large tree on it, a large shade tree. None of the other homes had a tree in this neighborhood. And so the man moved there right at the beginning of fall. And of course, the weather's still very warm there in fall in comparison to the way it is in Wisconsin. And he thought to himself, well, it's pretty warm. And I knew it was hot in Texas, but you know, it's okay. It's warm. It's nice. It's not too hot. And he was working his job and he was doing his thing. And shortly, very soon after moving there, the leaves began to fall from the oak tree. And when it first started happening, he thought to himself, well, this is really pretty. It's really nice here. The weather's cooling off. It's pretty nice. Now the trees are falling heavy, and on his way to work, he notices none of the other neighbors has any trees, and they don't have to rake their lawn. And he's coming home from work and having to rake his lawn because there's leaves everywhere. This is a magnificent oak, so it's dropping so many leaves, and there are leaves everywhere. And he's raking these leaves, and he's thinking to himself, my God, I'm the only one in the neighborhood that has to rake these leaves. Stupid tree. Stupid tree. He wakes up in the morning to go to work, and there are leaves and little branches all over his tree, and there's bird all over his car because his car parks under the tree, and there's bird poop all over his car, and he thinks to himself, what a stupid tree. When he first moved there, he was excited. He thought, I got the only tree in the neighborhood, the only big shade tree in the neighborhood. Stupid tree. What a dumb tree. Now I'm parking under there, and there's bird poop, and there's leaves, and I have to rake, and I have to do all these things. Well, fall came and went, and winter came. And he was excited because he wasn't up north where he had to shovel all the snow. So he thought to himself, man, this is nice. I don't have to shovel all the snow. It doesn't get too cold here. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice. He would look out his window in the middle of January, and he'd see the birds in the branches of the big oak tree, and he thought to himself, wow, this is nice. You get to look at the birds, and it's beautiful. Winter passes, and spring comes, and he's still excited about the oak tree. Summer comes. And he's very thankful for the oak tree, being that it's hot out, and offers nice shade for his car. It's offering nice shade for his home during the hottest part of the day. Well, one of those big Texas-sized thunderstorms roll through one day, and it's very windy, and a wind gust blows a large rotten limb from the tree, and it lands right on the hood of his car and puts a big scratch across the hood of his car. He comes out after the thunderstorm, and he goes, "You stupid tree! My God, this is awful. First the birds are pooping all over it, and the leaves, and now the limbs falling and scratching my car. What a stupid tree." He goes and gets the scratch worked out of the car. It's a nice new car, you know. And so he goes and he gets the paint. He gets the stuff to fix the scratch on the car. It looks like brand new. Several weeks have passed. Another Texas-sized T-storm rolls through. You know those big thunderstorms that happen in the summer in Texas. And lightning strikes the tree. And it strikes one of the largest limbs that just happened to be right over the roof of the car. And this monster-sized limb, I'm talking about the large limb, falls right on the roof of his car and collapses the roof of his car. Shatters the windshield, collapses the roof of his car. He comes out of his house after the thunderstorm. Stupid tree! My God, this tree, I'm so annoyed now by this tree. Insurance company is called. They total the car. The entire roof was collapsed, so they total the car. They say it's going to cost just as much to fix all this as it would. So they total the car, and they give him a rental car. So now he's parked his rental car in the driveway, still very frustrated, still, even though he thinks he might have let it go, still in his mind. It's just brewing in his mind, the ideas, the things that this tree, the problems that this tree has caused. Several weeks pass, and another Texas-sized thunderstorm rolls through. This time, a branch gets dropped right on the deck of his house, and it messes the deck up. I mean, it just jacks the deck all up. And so he comes out, and in a rage, "I'm done with this tree." And he goes out, and he works all morning. He cuts down the tree. And then the tree is now in a pile. But during the cutting down of the tree, one of the branches falls, and it lands right on his AC unit. Destroys his AC unit for his house. And now he's so frustrated. This stupid tree. First it scratched my car, then it destroyed my car, then my deck, and now my AC unit is all jacked up. Stupid tree, I'm so glad I cut you down. Now he's done with the project of cutting down the tree. It's about 110 degrees. The sun is blaring on him. He thinks, I better go inside where it's cool. Because he forgot that the AC unit was busted from the limb that fell on it. And he goes inside for cool air, and it's hot. He thinks to himself, well, I guess I'll go outside and get some shade and sit in the shade in the breeze. And then he realizes there is no shade anymore because he cut down the only shade in the neighborhood. He stops. He thinks to himself, what have I done? I've ruined the only good thing about my lot. The moral of the story is this. All of your judgments are problems in your own mind. None of those problems were real. Those problems were only affecting what was outside of him, but because he lived an external life, thinking that his life was based upon where he went to work and what was going on around him and the things that he had and the possessions that he had, because he thought that way, every little thing was either good or bad. He judged every instance in his existence as either good or bad. When the tree offered shade for him, it's good. When the branch falls from the tree on his car, this is awful, this is bad. Judgment. But he judged the tree as evil just long enough, just hard enough that in a rage he would cut it down. Only to realize that the best thing that he had going for him in that whole neighborhood was that tree. Nobody else had a tree like that. And it offered lots of shade and kept the house nice and cool during the hottest part of the day. Didn't have to run his AC as hard. When he didn't have an AC anymore because in his rage he destroyed it. He still even blamed that on the tree. He might have just moved his car, parked it somewhere different. Could have been a solution. But he wanted to blame everything around him on something else, because those judgments, whenever you're making judgments like that, which we all do, every person makes those sorts of judgments. Somebody looks at them weird, judgment. They're wearing different clothes than you're used to, judgment. They're wearing clothes that you wouldn't wear, judgment. They said something that you wouldn't say, judgment. They seem a little different, judgment. We make judgments continually, And sometimes we even judge the biggest, the largest, the most beautiful gifts in our life. And we judge them just enough so that they're no longer gifts. And then after destroying those things, we realize we destroyed that which was most precious. But even in the destruction of the things that are most precious to us, it's only to reveal that those things that are most precious to us are illusional. They are illusions. In the sense that they are not ultimate reality, and they are not the reality that should move you. These things can be cut down. They can be shifted. They can be changed. The form changes. The energy shifts. That which is ultimate reality cannot shift. It does not move. It does not change. It only increases in its reality. So peace, as peace, increases. Love, as love, increases and grows and gets bigger. All the other things are illusion. People, the person, the persona, the ego, specializes in illusion, don't it? Doesn't it? You're getting worked up over what somebody says. You're specializing in illusion. You're allowing illusion to create a problem in your mind. You get worked up because things aren't going for you the way that you thought they were supposed to go at work. Illusion is ruling your mind. You're ruled by your mind. Ruled by external illusions. In the reality of being peace, of being the divine rest, the divine essence, when you see that all is good, now everything shifts. Your vision shifts and changes. And now somebody at work says something to you, I don't care. Say whatever they want. When the limb falls from the tree on the car, it's just a car. I better park it somewhere different. I'm so thankful that it's just a car that got hurt and showing me I shouldn't be attached to things that are impermanent. You see, those judgments become burdens. You might think it's an innocent thing, like just judging a tree or labeling a tree. But in essence, if it becomes something other than a communicative tool, it becomes a judgment. For instance, you might say, some of you say, I love spring and summer when the trees are green. They're beautiful. I'm not a big fan of fall because they turn weird colors. Somebody else might say, fall is beautiful. Look how beautiful fall is. I'm not a big fan of winter when the leaves fall and now they're just bare. It's not really that pretty. Somebody else might think the exact opposite. Isn't that true? Which one of you is right? Of course, you always feel that you're right, don't you? Well, summertime is my favorite because everything's green and beautiful. You're obviously always right, aren't you? It's subjective at best. But when someone says something to you that you think is wrong, this is not subjective. You actually believe so strongly that you are right, that you will fight. Or if you have strong religious convictions and beliefs, and somebody says something different, you actually think that you are right enough that you're trying to convert them to your way of believing, because if you don't believe this way after all, there's obviously some sort of divine punishment in store for you. And we fight, and we fight. We fight with our coworkers, and we fight with our family members, and we fight with everyone that doesn't believe and see exactly the way I see. There are lots of people that try to fight with me. I'm just not fighting back. There is no fight. There is no fight. They're not wrong. Let them be right. When you realize that they are neither right nor wrong, and you only concern yourself with that which is real or true. And when I say that which is true, I'm not talking about what you think or what you believe. When I say that which is true, I'm talking about ultimate reality, the thing that does not shift, does not move. And so the one that you're having a problem with at work, or the family member, or the friend, or the enemy, the one you're having a problem with is actually, when it comes to the truth, the exact same essence that you are. Isn't that true? Manifest in different persona, but the same essence. So why would I judge myself? If I'm going to notice the differences, I'm just simply going to notice the beauty of those differences. I'm going to say, well, that's beautiful. That's just wonderful. That personality's cool. Because every time you judge them in any other way, thinking that you are right, you are creating a mental burden for yourself that you carry around. And eventually you won't even realize you carry it. It'll become second nature to you to talk about others. And you'll even talk about how other people talk about others. Can't believe that all she ever does, or all he ever does, is talk and gossip and carry on. You doing the same thing that they're doing, thinking that you're better than them. Have you ever noticed this? None of you have ever done this, I'm sure. I'm sure that everyone participating in this has never done this thing. I'm sure Dean Delker has never done that in his life. He's never talked about somebody and said, yeah, they just talk all the time about other people. Always judging other people, making a judgment that they always judge others. And with every one of those thoughts and with every one of those judgments, we are creating and carrying burdens for ourselves. With every one of those judgments, you think of every one of those judgments as a burden. Now all of a sudden you realize, have you ever done yourself any good? Has there ever actually been any positive thing that has come from a judgment? Yes, of course there has. This is why I say, if you're going to judge with all your might. Because eventually you'll carry so many burdens that you will want to die. And you'll say to yourself, I hate who I am. And in that moment, this is beautiful, because the person you are hating is not who you truly are. See, even good comes from the worst of things that you can imagine. The things that you think, when I'm telling the story, you think of the person making those judgments or of yourself as bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying you're not helping yourself. If you're going to do it, though, if you're going to make the decision to judge today, then judge with all of your might. If you want to judge me with all of your might. Don't listen to me. Don't just comment or speak about the things that you're saying, but everyone should write a blog with their hardest and strictest of judgments. Don't just send me a message saying you disagree, but everyone should do their very best to make sure that not one person will ever listen to me again. You should judge me with all of your might. You're going to judge your coworker. Don't just talk about them behind their back, but go to them and in rage judge them. Whether you end up in jail or whether you end up in a state of just constant stress and anxiety, there will be a point when you realize that those that you were judging with all of your might were actually your best friend, was actually the thing that was most precious to you. That the one that was annoying you was actually the one that was most precious to you, because that one that was annoying you was revealing that the you that was annoyed is not the true you, is not the true self. The reason why I say judge with all of your might is because if you just, this is why Jesus said, don't be lukewarm. Either be hot or cold. Because both hot and cold, think about this. This is a dualistic idea, isn't it? But to be hot or cold is going to bring you quicker to the place of realizing who you are. But if you exist in just a lukewarm state of judgment, you'll go on judging for years and years and years and years and years, thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm okay, I'm good. But never realizing who you are. I was always taught growing up within Christianity that to judge, to be hot or cold, I must be hot. I must be zealous and hot for Christianity, for the Bible, for Jesus Christ. And what Jesus really meant was to be hot. What I realize now is my being zealous, my being radical when I was involved in Christianity, my being doctrinal and dogmatic at times when I was involved in Christianity, that was the greatest of the gifts for me, because it brought me much quicker out of the illusion of Christianity. It helped me move beyond those things much quicker. There are so many people that still have the idea of who they believe Silas is as being the zealous one. Even my father recently told Beth that you can't speak to Silas because he always just thinks he's right. And I thought, we haven't actually had a meaningful conversation in many years. Any sort of conversation of actual depth in so many years. And his statement actually to her was, he's just like me. If he thinks he's right, you can't talk to him. Thought to myself, well, it's been a while since I've even thought of myself in terms of right or wrong. Couldn't really tell you last time I thought of myself in terms of right or wrong. When you oppose something, you must stand for something to oppose something. Yes? If you stand for something, are you living in duality? Is the thing that you're standing for it because you believe that it's right, that it's correct, that it's holy, that it's a righteous thing to stand for this, right? Yes? And when you stand for that thing, to stand for something, you must also oppose something. If you take this seriously, it's because you actually believe the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is real. You actually believe that duality is real instead of it being simply the playground, the illusionary realm, the playground that we get to play in. I'm talking about capital R reality, ultimate reality, the reality of what is within you. If you think that you're right, then someone has to be wrong. I say these things to you. Somebody comes to me and they say, Silas, I believe you're wrong. I say, great, wonderful, awesome, but believe it with all of your might. They say, Silas, what you're teaching is heresy, blasphemy. Wonderful, that's good. Yes, but if you're going to believe that I'm teaching that I'm blaspheming, then please believe it with all of your might. Be so zealous against me. Because what I'm teaching has nothing to do with the right or wrong. Satsangs are all about exploring essence. They're not about right and wrong. I had somebody come to me just the other day that was asking about, he said he wants to change his theology is changing, and he thinks that he needs to change his theology. No. If you're listening, don't change your theology. Realize that all of your theology was bullshit in the first place. All of your thoughts about God as if he's outside of you, and about every religious perspective as if God is separated from you. How much study and time we've put into trying to align our thoughts with what is truth, when the whole time you have been the truth. And if you would simply let go of all those thoughts that you believe to be correct, you would sink effortlessly into the reality of being truth instead of trying to align with it. When we realize that what our judgments are accomplishing, we do one of two things. If you hear what was said, one of two things will be done. You'll either realize something and go, why have I lived that way? And every time your mind begins to produce a judgment, you'll stop it and say, I have no interest in that. I have no interest in the way it makes me feel. I have no interest in the way that it makes others feel. I have no interest in it because it's not even real. And you would sink back into the reality of the oneness that you share with all things. Or you would think to yourself, this is wrong. And you make a judgment, this is wrong. If you make a judgment that it's wrong, by all means, judge with all of your might. But the one thing that I would ask you to not do would be to judge that it is right or correct. Don't hear what I'm saying and think, Silas is right. I'm not right. I'm not right. For me to be right would mean for someone else to be wrong. I'm not teaching you a right or a wrong. I'm not teaching you a doctrine. I'm pointing you to who you truly are beyond the right and wrong. To the essence, to the light, to the energy, to the substance that fills all things, that you truly are beyond the right or wrong. This is what Jesus was revealing, the Christ in us. Continually revealing who we are beyond. This is the reason why he didn't say, I'm right, but he said, I am the truth. Truth is the word aletheia, which means ultimate reality. He didn't say, I am right, listen to me. He said, I am the truth. You are the truth. What you're saying is never true. What I'm saying is not true. I am the truth. The reason why I say that is because words are always offering you, every one of you that is listening to this right now is hearing different things. And you'll hear me, Brant is hearing one thing, and Austin hearing one thing, and Becca's hearing one thing, and Dean's hearing another. And if you think to yourself, that is truth, then ultimately your mind is going, yes, that is truth, that is right. I'm going to grab a hold of that. I'm going to attach to that thing, because if I do that thing, then I could really this is not the case. What you are hearing is not truth. There's no truth in the story. No truth in your narrative. The one who exists beyond the thing that's being said. If I say to you, that maple tree out there, look at that maple tree, and you look at that maple tree and you think to yourself, he's speaking truth, that's a maple tree. You are deceived. If I say to you, that is an alien from the planet Oomph, you hear that, you are deceived. You are deceived both if I say to you that is a maple tree and you say, yes, that is truth, or if I say that is an alien from the planet Oomph. Either way, you are deceived. That is not truth in what I'm saying. There might be fact that people call that a maple tree. If I say to you the leaves on that maple tree are green, that's not truth. It might be fact that the majority of people would agree that those leaves are green. But what that actually is beyond that. What actually exists beyond the green leaves, beyond the tree, that's what matters. That's what truly is. Do you understand? Are you hearing? Those who have ears, let them hear. Not what I said. It's amazing how our ears and eyes filter things. Our mind filters things. It's amazing how I can say one thing and everyone in the room takes it a completely different way, depending upon the filter that's in their mind. One person takes it completely theologically. The other person is trying to line it up with certain scripture. The other person is thinks they're open-minded, but is lining it up with some sort of philosophical thing that they read in some book somewhere. The other person has read watched a TV series, and they think to themselves, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense because I watched this TV series." But all of them are kind of taking what is said and fragmenting it and coming up with their own little thing. And yet the thing that I'm saying to you is not meant for you to do that with. It's meant to simply point and reveal who you truly are. And when you simply live as you truly are, existing, being as you truly are, all judgments end. Now we use words to communicate. We might even use words to pick on people or harass people in a joking manner and being silly. But you use words to communicate, but you in no way, shape, or form judge. You're not judging. You're not using those words to judge. You're not allowing the mental filter to make a judgment any longer. How another person thinks, how another person feels, how something else is acting or doing, or the way something is. Letting go of those judgments. And instead you realize that all of those things that are capable of being judged are illusion. In other words, they do not exist in ultimate reality. But that which lies beyond them is that which is reality. I wanted to share that with you because I know how heavy it gets when you're spending a lot of time in your mind making judgments of others. Before you know it, everything you look at, everything you hear, everything you taste, everything you see, every situation is being judged. You can't sit down with somebody without making a judgment of that person or thinking that you know exactly what it is that they're thinking or exactly what it is that they're saying. And that is a heavy burden to carry. It's a heavy burden to carry, isn't it? How many of you have carried those burdens? It's heavy. It's heavy. Okay. All right, I'll open up for any kind of questions. That doesn't have to be about that. It can be anything. But I want to open up. So whatever questions you might have.
I think it's actually related. Like I can see what you're saying in terms of like how I respond to Christians, like, because I've been so hurt by so many of them that, like, I see stuff and I hear stuff and it's just like there's like this like in visceral like ugh. And like I recognize it when it happens and I'm like, I don't want to feel that way. Like I do not want to treat them the way that they've treated me. I don't want to feel that way about an entire group of people in the world. It's not even just the people who have hurt me, it's the people that all Christians irritate the shit out of me. And like, it's not where I want to be. It's not how I want to feel. I know it's not me. Like, I know that is just like, I feel like it's really ugly. Because it's not my heart. Like, so then, like, I find myself judging myself for judging them. Like, God, that's so ugly, to have those feelings towards people. Like, like, I guess, like, I don't really know, like, how to move beyond that and not... Because, like, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way.
Okay, the first thing.
I don't know how to.
First things first. I think we can all relate in some way. Every single person has been hurt by someone, right? Or something, or a group of people. When you're hurt by someone that associates as this, then we kind of lump that in. And if you have that happen enough times, you always lump the whole group together, right? First things first. Christians aren't real. Any more than Muslims are real or Buddhists are real. What exists beyond that is real. The essence of who they are is the same as you. They're not different than you. They are one with you. The belief structure, they lump themselves together and say we are this because we believe these things, even though I rarely meet two Christians that are even similar in their belief structures, right? So first of all, we lump people together. The issue is this. Person always judges a person. And when you say, I've been hurt by these people, who was the one that was hurt? Eka. The story, the narrative. You have a memory. So your mind is working, and its memory says, I have been hurt. Was the wound real? Was the hurt real? Was the actions done from someone else? Was it done to you?
No, I don't see it.
Or was it done to what they think is you?
Mm-hmm.
Was it done to the persona? The form? So they didn't hurt you. They tried to hurt the form. They tried to hurt the form. In my story, the man cuts down the tree. Did he destroy the tree? Yes. He destroyed the tree. But did he destroy what that actually is? No. Did he destroy the energy that is the tree? Absolutely not. That energy falls to the ground and then just returns to where it came from to rise up again in another form. He did not destroy the energy that is the tree. He destroyed the form. The person is always judging other people. Persons see persons, ego sees ego, essence sees essence. The one is annoyed. Is it you? No. No, it's not you, is it? The one who's frustrated, is it you? No, that's not you, is it? Right? So all of this ends when you simply realize the memory that you have of being hurt is not you. And it ends when you realize the people group responsible is not them. And so all of it is illusionary. It's not real. And when you truly see this, when it's truly realized, it's not something you do, but when it's truly realized, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. People that associate as Christians will stand in judgment. I have never met a Christian that did not stand in some form of judgment. That's okay. Let them judge. It's bringing them to their end. It's bringing them to their end. But this is a people or an ego issue. It's not a Christianity issue. It's not a Muslim issue. It's not a Hindu issue. It's not a pagan issue. It's just a person issue. People judge people. It's what they do. People exist in the realm of duality. Duality is not bad. If you think to yourself, duality is bad, you're still believing that duality is real. Duality is not bad. It's illusionary. It's the world of opposites. And when you awaken to the reality that who you are is beyond the world of opposites, then all of those opposites are reconciled in your mind. And now you can use the language and you can play within the realm. You can be on one side of the seesaw, but you realize being on one side of the seesaw is just like being on the other. Neither one is right. And now you see that all is good. Now you see clearly that all is good. And that one that supposedly hurt the other one is not real. When you realize the wound is not real, then who do you have to judge? No one. When you realize that the fear that you had in your mind is non-existent based on the judgment of your mind, would you be afraid? When you realize that who you are is incapable of being wounded, capable of death, will you be afraid? But this doesn't come because you hear it. It comes when it's realized. This is something that you awaken to, that you realize. It's not just something you have the information on that it changes. If Christians annoy you, then I suggest going to church until they no longer annoy you. I remember when I first started, the thing you awaken to, you judge the most. And when I first started realizing certain things and started stepping away from Christianity, I was still involved. I was still labeled a Christian, but I was so annoyed by Christians. I mean, bothered by Christians. So infuriated by the silly and ridiculous nature, the things that they would say, and the doctrines and the dogmas and the laws and the other ideas of worship, and I was baffled by them, and I would seek to harass Christians, even though I was still under the label. I would seek to harass them. I was right after all. Started wars on Facebook and social media and in person, would start wars over it just to mess with them, just to harass them. Found myself, man, yeah, just a week ago I was right where they are, and now I'm harassing them because I know better. Just 10 years ago I was right where they are, but now I know better, so I can harass them. Christians are right. They have a personal Jesus Christ. Each one of those persons, those people, those egos have a Jesus that looks just like them. It's only when you realize that you have been crucified, that personal Jesus Christ was crucified. Now you're realizing something beautiful. You must let go of your personal Jesus Christ to realize who Christ is. Christianity is not real, Becca. It's a figment of the imagination that's rooted in duality. That's all it is. The wound, not real. It's a figment of the imagination that's rooted in duality. Have you ever seen a war where the individuals involved in the war, there was one side of the group, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about a fight that breaks out, a fist fight that breaks out, or an actual war where countries are going to war. Have you ever known the soldiers involved to say, I know that we are wrong and I'm still killing people, but I know that we are in the wrong here? Or do almost all the soldiers believe radically in their cause? They believe that they are the right, that they are. The Muslims are trying to kill the great Satan that is America, and America is trying to protect all of its beautiful citizens from the great Satan that is the Muslims. Both believe so strongly that they are right. Would there be a fight if one side believed that they were wrong? Would there be a fight? No. So if you're still fighting against something, it's because in some way you believe you're right and they're wrong. When you realize the one believing that is dead is not real, it's an illusionary, it's an illusion. It's created in your imagination, and the war ends. They might still be fighting. Listen, there are lots of people that are trying to fight me. I'm just not fighting with them. There are lots of people that are judging me. Judge away. I'm like a black hole for your judgments. I'm like a black hole for the insults and the judgments. Just judge and insult and throw away. It just goes in and goes off into the nothingness, because that's exactly what it is. It's not. Empty space. Anyone else? Any other question? Or Becca, you can ask. Go ahead.
There seems to be a big difference between, like, a judgment of the tree is beautiful, as in, I'm right, I see the tree is beautiful, someone else sees it as ugly, and then there's a clash between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's beautiful, and just seeing the tree is beautiful, and that just seeing light, like celebrating the tree, is even that the judgment, just not holding it as dogmatically that you lied about it?
That's enjoying the playground. The only question is, do you really believe that that tree is a tree? Do you believe that the energy that is taken on that form that you call a tree, do you believe dogmatically that it is a tree? If you believe dogmatically that it is a tree, then you are specializing in illusion. Then you will fight with someone, because someone else will say it's not a tree, or they will say it's alien from the planet, or they will say that it's brown and you think that it's green, or they will say it's purple, or they will say it's ugly, and there will always be some sort of argument about the thing that is not even a tree. It's energy. It's just energy. Oh, on the playground you go, wow, look, that's up. This is cold. This is hot. Somebody else says, that's not hot to me. You go, awesome. You don't go, well, it is too hot. No, sir, that's not hot. It's lukewarm. It's hot to me. You don't do that. You're just playing. Somebody jumps in the sandbox with you, and they're playing in the sandbox, and they go, the sand's not very deep. And you think to yourself, it's really deep to me. You don't get a fight over it. You go, oh, I think it's deep. So, oh, well, it's not deep to me because they're used to a deeper sandbox. What's deep to one person isn't deep to another. That's true. This is obvious. Sometimes people even say to me, they go, wow, what you said was really deep. And I thought to myself, well, I literally said the most surface thing I could think of. To them, this is super deep. This is a deep statement of revelatory significance. And to me, it was just literally like I was literally just trying to give them the most surface thing I could think of to try to help them where they were. You know?
Yeah.
Success. So, see that the tree is beautiful and green and a maple is fine. This is wonderful. Just realize that it's playground significance. Just like when I get frustrated, I'm playing cards and I'm like, and we're talking trash and I'm getting serious and it's playground significant. It's not real. I'm not really mad. If I get really mad and I'm actually infuriated by the cards, now I've taken those cards too seriously. If you go look at a beautiful tree that's green, somebody else says, it's not beautiful. And you go, okay, that's fine. You can think that it's not beautiful. It's no problem. This is a personal thing. You don't get mad, do you? So when somebody says, Austin, you're ugly, will you take that as an insult? Or you just realize that's a personal thing? Somebody else looks at you and says, man, Austin is sexy. Another says, Austin's ugly. One person says, I'm really attracted to Austin. Somebody else says, oh, no, not my type. This is not a personal thing. Did I say it's not a personal thing? It is a personal thing. This is all it is a personal thing. It's an illusionary playground type personal thing, isn't it? It's not real. It's not true. It's the reason why when somebody insults or attacks you, you can just go, not real. It's not true. You only fight back when somebody attacks you when you actually believe that you're the person being attacked. You will only go to war with another when you actually believe that you're the one that is possible that could be harmed. You're the one that could be harmed, then you will go to war, won't you? And you will fight with all of your might. But if you're going to fight, if you're going to go to war, remember, go to war with all of your might. Give it all that you are, or that you believe you are. So that you can come to the end of yourself quicker. Anyone else?
Silas,
Mm-hmm.
what you're talking about there, do labels, like if you're not serious when you make a label, in other words, if you hold it lightly, that can be useful sometimes.
It's simply, so here's the thing. Labels exist for us to communicate.
Right.
Tree. Hey, we're going to cut firewood. And I go, look at that dead tree over there. We're going to cut that thing down. If I just go, cut it down, you'd go, we're in the middle of the forest. There's wood. And I go, cut it down. You'd go, what do I cut down? I go, the dead tree. And there's many dead trees. You go, which one? And you would say, the dead locust tree. Oh, okay. Now I know which one to cut down. They're there to communicate.
Yeah.
However, when I label myself, and I begin to believe that label is true, when you look at, this is the reason why I've said this for quite some time. You say to a Christian, when I stopped using the term Christian, I got blasted, hammered. I said, I'm no longer a Christian. How could you say that? I had the great minds of Christianity and some of the most admired people within Christianity say, I could never do that. When we sat down with, what was her name? We sat down with Heidi Baker. Beth and I sat down with Heidi Baker, and she said, I could never do that. I said, no, I don't care if you do it or not. I don't care if you use the term Christian or not. I just no longer use that term for myself. I could never do that. But the reason why that bothers a Christian so much is because it's not a label. It's just not a name. It's an identity. They're identified by this. I am a Christian. You are a Muslim, or you are this. Okay. So now the label is not for communication purposes. It's not even healthy anymore. It is an identity. And so what the form is always trying to do is identify. I go, I'm a man. So I want to be the man's man. Somebody else might go, I'm a woman and I want to be feminine. I want to be the most feminine of women. It's attractive. Somebody else might say, I'm white. You're black. You're Asian. You're whatever. Now all of a sudden, it's not just, hey, I say, go talk to Aaron. They say, who's Aaron? Aaron's another label, but they don't know who Aaron is. They've never heard that label for that person. They don't know Aaron. And I say, the black man right there with the beard. Oh. But if the black man hears me, the black man might go, who you calling black man? I said, well, I was just trying to communicate with this person, so that they might know who I'm sending them to. Right? You understand? It's just communicative. But when you believe that it's you will always be offended, won't you? Won't you?
Yeah.
That label will always offend you when somebody says something that it seems to be, when they say, they say something about Buddha, Christian, no, I won't listen. Or somebody begins to talk about energy. There was at one point when I was involved in Christianity, an entire list of words that if you heard, you were supposed to stay away from those people because they were New Age or demonic. Words like rock and roll were on there. Energy. Like so many words that you would just use, like we would use every day, just like every day, like it's just a word. And yet, if people are, but the point is that when you identify as something, along with that thing, you will build in an identity. That identity will get bigger and bigger and bigger until it dies. It dies. So labels are just that, Gene. They're just labels. Who cares? We label things and we play with things. But if you don't take it seriously, if you just realize it's illusionary, because you can only realize it's illusionary when you've tuned into to who you are, when you've realized that you are ultimate reality, the reality that's immovable. And when somebody calls you a white boy, you go, let the skin of this avatar that I feel is white. It's more tannish. Yeah, I'm not offended. So now all of a sudden we've moved beyond offense. Now we can use labels and we can play with them and we can label stuff and we can joke around and we can be silly because we're playing in a playground after all, right? We're all in a big sandbox having fun playing. But if you think that the thing that you're building in that sandbox is real, you are going, if you build a big house in that sandbox and you go and live in that house, I promise you at some point it will collapse. You will realize quickly that it is an illusionary world you're playing in. Or you will get very upset and then attempt to build another. What people do when they leave identity, when they identify as a Christian and they leave Christianity, what they end up doing is building another religious sect. This is what the charismatics have done. This is what the Baptist and the anti-Baptist and you have the first church of the brethren, you have the second church of the brethren, and the third church of the brethren, you got the Methodist, and you have the new Methodist, or whatever they call it. You got hundreds of thousands of different sects of Christianity because they all go, I disagree with this, so we're going to start our own. We disagree, they're wrong, so we're going to start our own thing. And they just leave one, but they're too religious, and they leave that thing, and they create another religious. There is no way around that. I was even, just before when we were talking earlier about you can, to be anti-America, you'll end up creating a new government. It'll do the same thing. You will never accomplish anything if you're anti-America or anti-government or anti-anything, because the thing, if you stand against something, it's because you're standing for something. If you're standing for something, you're going to create the exact same thing that you stand against. You're not only going to empower the thing you stand against, you're going to end up creating the exact same thing. The pilgrims came over from other countries, from Europe or from wherever they came over from, England, to come to America. And they came over because they wanted to have freedom. Freedom, supposedly, to worship. They left a supposedly Christian nation to create another Christian nation. All based on the premise of exterior or external freedoms. Freedom is never external. So yes, dude. When labels are simply used to play, and you realize that it is not real, now you can play and you can using the labels is no problem. When I say Christian, I use the term to simply help you realize the group of the people that associate as this thing. But I use the term realizing it's not real at all. When I say person, I'm using it to describe the ego. But I realize the ego is not real at all. It will shift and change. Jim Carrey, I just heard earlier, Jim Carrey said once, he said he was during the peak of his success, when he was really, really successful, he was also losing things. He was going through a divorce. He was going through many other things. That's when he started having a little bit of moment of awakening. And he said the thing is that he realized was that he hated himself. And then he said this. He said, I realized I was losing Jim Carrey. I was getting so involved in roles that I was playing that I was losing Jim Carrey. And he said, if Jim Carrey can be lost so easily, then was he ever real? And the answer is no. You can get caught up in your mind and believing something and go hard after that thing long enough that you become something entirely different. Is the thing that you've become real? Because who you are does not become something. This is why I've said to every single one of you, cannot become awakened. You cannot become anything. You did not come here to become something. You already are it. You cannot become who you already are. But a squirrel believing it's a dog will run around barking. It cannot become a squirrel. It can only realize that it has always been a squirrel. Right? Anyone else? What you doing over there, shifty eyes?
Well, I have a bunch of questions, but none of them are related.
They don't have to be related. The Satsang is not having to be related to anything.
Um, this might be weird, but like, so,
I would expect nothing less from you.
so I was thinking about like in quantum physics, what is
You can come right here if you don't want to speak up. You can just sit right here.
ow.
That way they can hear you.
Okay, so I was thinking about like in quantum physics how they say that nothing exists outside of an observer, like observing it. But and about the fact that like I am the observer, but like what is observing the observer? Like how does the observer exist? Is there something beyond the observer that's observing the observer? And is there like, and what is that? Like,
what you're calling the observer is mind. What actually is making the observation is awareness. Awareness simply is. It's just not processed. Awareness has never had to process something. What's happening is because you function with this mind, you feel a body that has this beautiful tool that is the mind. You might even observe something that is spirit, but then it immediately the mind wants to take this stuff and use it and process all the information in the bits and pieces. And this is what we would call the observer. It's like even when I say observe the thoughts. Who's the one observing the thoughts? Your mind is observing the thoughts. You are learning how to take the mind, and instead of just letting my thoughts pass through it, you're and learning, and instead of allowing those thoughts to affect every part of you and move you emotionally, you're learning to observe the thoughts so that they don't move you emotionally, right? But the mind is the one doing this. The one that actually is the awareness that sits behind that, beyond that, has no interest in doing. It's not needing to participate in that. It can put it to work. It can animate the whole system. But this is all. This is all.
so is it the awareness that gives rise to existence?
Yes. Yes, it's the divine essence, the awareness that brings forth all things. That's why all things are good.
So there's nothing beyond that.
Beyond awareness, beyond isness, beyond the essence,
Yes.
it just is. That's an ever-expanding isness, an ever-expanding reality, perfect in all its ways. This is not a subjective perfection. This is because this is a perfection that existed before there ever was a creation that would give way to duality.
Okay, so when I'm interacting, like with other expressions, whether it's like here, like you and I, or like in spirit, with Holy Spirit, or with mentors who come along to teach me things, like these are not separate from me.
Correct.
But they have wisdom to share with me. And
who is the me that they're sharing with?
So they're sharing it with Becca. But what they're sharing is stuff that I already know. So,
there's nothing that you don't know. There's only things you're unaware of. There's only things you haven't realized. There's nothing you don't know. You truly know all things. Who you truly are knows all things. It's the one you believed you are that doesn't.
So then who is it that's who is it that's awakening?
You.
The
forgotten you.
The avatar, or
No, the avatar is just that. It's just the avatar. You've fallen asleep and you've believed you are something so strongly that now you're more conscious of the thing, that the avatar, than you are of your actual self, of your actual being. Come in contact with other beings, especially ones that maybe have awakened to something that maybe you haven't, and you're realizing that thing. But when you're speaking, we're actually having a monologue. It's the same essence. But there's a rise of something. Now that thing is speaking, and when it speaks, and in your essence, you go, yeah. Now this little part of you is awakening because it's come in contact. It's woke up. When that thing wakes up, now the avatar shifts, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The Becca shifts, and you begin to realize more and more and more that Becca's not even real.
Mm-hmm.
Becca's a personality. It's beautiful. It's a low, it's just a small R reality. It's still beautiful. I'm not saying it's not real in the sense that it doesn't really exist. No. People that are hearing me say that, obviously, that's not what I'm saying at all. That's doing some weird things. So if you're hearing me say that, you're not hearing me at all. When I say that's not real, I'm talking about it's not ultimate reality, the immovable truth, the unshakable truth of who you are.
Ultimately, because people believe that.
You don't know what most people believe. So who you are, you don't. It's true. Who you are, the essence of who you are. It's like I used the actual. I talked about a handful of weeks ago. I talked about the actual movie Avatar. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And I was saying in the movie, it struck me because in the movie, when we were watching the movie, the character in the movie that was slipping into the Avatar, he had no legs. Remember, his legs he was paralyzed from the waist down. And so he actually goes into the machine, and now he's in the machine, and now he's this guy that can run and play. But he finds himself so lost in this Avatar world. This had become his reality. The Avatar world, this Avatar that he was manifesting in, this whole world that he was living in became his reality. That when they took him out of the machine, he didn't want to. He just wanted to stay in the machine. He didn't want to wake up to what was real. And so he wanted to stay there. And when I kind of saw it when he first came out of the machine, he was like, what's going on? Like this, I want to go back to that. A lot of people would rather live in the Avatar world, and that is for them real. The problem is when that is for them what is real, they find misery there. Because in that realm, they find when that realm is real, you find misery, and you find joy, happiness. You find peace, and you find chaos. It's a realm of duality. That duality is not bad. It's meant to be hot and cold. It's meant for your enjoyment. And so you have many things there for your enjoyment, and they appear to be opposite. Sound and silence, noise and silence are the same thing. Hot and cold are the same thing. They're just two sides of the same coin, right? Okay. So the one who's waking up is the one that has believed what you've seen, believed what you've heard. You've believed the world that you've lived in up to this point is real. And when you hear the monologue, or you're in your spirit, the Holy Spirit, which is your spirit, not separate from you, is speaking something, is saying something. Now who you are that consciously begins to wake up. Who you have believed yourself to be begins to wake up. Like you are waking up at the sound of your own voice.
Like I've gotten the sense a lot of times that the Holy Spirit, who is my best friend, is actually my own essence.
Of course it is. It's not separate from you. This doesn't mean it's the same in person.
Right. But like I've also
your best friend has never been not you. Even when your best friend was an actual person, it's not been not you.
Yeah, like I guess sometimes I feel like that kind of makes my brain feel like a pretzel because.
Good.
Yeah.
It's never not you. This is why, it's a frustrating thing for somebody because you're trying to understand or comprehend what cannot be. It's not meant for you. These things are far too simple for the mind to grasp. It's not complex. It's just way too simple for the mind to grasp. The mind loves complexities, doesn't it? Mind loves complexities, loves puzzles, loves figuring things out, loves getting new information. What I'm saying is just way too simple, and the mind goes nuts. No, this can't be. It's too simple. One is never complicated. Two is far more complicated than one, isn't it?
Well, okay, so how is it that
Hold on a second. Let's just stay there for a second. Two is way more complicated than one. Is 1 million more complicated than one? What about 10 trillion? Is that more complicated than one? What about 1 plus 1? Is that more complicated than one? Yes, all those things are more complicated. One is not complicated. It's very simple. And there has only ever been one. Manifest in many personalities, but one. This is all.
so I mean, like, maybe I'm just making this too complicated because, like, I have, like, the, you know, like, I have these moments with Holy Spirit or some other spirit being shares something with me, or a person shares something with me, and, like, it's like, oh, you know, how is it, like, if we are one, how is it that they're sharing something with me that I didn't already know? And how is it that they're distinct from me? Are they?
They're distinct from you because there will always be, as long as you live in a personal world, there will always be you and another. As long as that is your reality, there will always be you and another. And where there's two, there's always conflict. Where there's two, there is always drama.
But isn't there also enjoyment?
Yes, of course. But where there is one, there's always enjoyment without the drama. You can live as two, and you'll have joy and enjoyment and pleasure. And you'll have misery. You will have great moments of what seems to be extreme ecstasy. And you will have moments of absolute extreme hell. Where there is one, there's just joy. Where there's one, there's only peace. Where there's one, there's only patience. Where there's one, there's only goodness. Where there's one, there's only perfection. Where there's one, there is absolute bliss. Where there's two, there's duality. You and me, wherever there's two, there's duality. Duality, right? It means two.
I was gonna say, I think I have a question on this on what she said. So, like, you talked about how, like, you talked with, like, Enoch and different people. And
Absolutely.
witnesses.
Yes.
So, when you encounter these people, do you see them as as a distinct person from yourself, or that this is just my own essence, this is just my own spirit speaking in a different form? Like, do you recognize the different person, the distinction between the different persons?
I'm not encountering them right now, so I can't answer that question.
Right.
Have I? I can answer that question.
Right.
Have I, in those many years past, there was definitely a distinction between them and me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But are we one? Absolutely. So just because there's a distinction doesn't mean you're not one. Does not mean you're not one. This is why oneness is realized. Oneness is far too simple for the mind to grasp. Oneness is realized. It's not understood. It'll never be understood until after it's realized. When you realize that you are one, now you're able to enjoy the many-faceted nature of that oneness. The beauty of that one that you are rising up in many manifestations, in many glorious manifestations. And when each one of those manifestations in the reality of oneness is happening, where is the drama? It does not exist. Because everyone recognizes the perfection of their own self in each other, of their own being in each other. Where there's two, you and me, there's always drama. Why'd you look at me that way? Why are you saying that? Why would you think that? Oh, you think you're right. That's stupid. You're definitely not right. You're wrong. Oh, you think that tree's pretty? It's not. It's ugly. Oh, you want to do this? No, you don't want to do it. You don't want to be with me. You don't want to talk to me. You don't want to touch me. You don't want to do this. Why not? And there's all this drama always happening. That exists wherever there is two. But when there is one rising up in manifestation in this beautiful, multifaceted one universe, now we are getting excited because we get to actually enjoy and find peace and love and joy. And that's all that exists there for the one that is realizing this. Make sense? Does this make sense to you? It doesn't even matter if it makes sense to you. Are you hearing me? So what happens is we think that when you have this encounter, we're looking for this encounter. We're still looking for encounter from someone or something outside of ourselves, from a God outside of ourselves. That person, the one that has an encounter with God outside of himself, is a person. You still have believed yourself to be that person. And you're encountering God outside of yourself.
So, for example, like trying to talk to a cloud of witnesses, something like that. Like
That's
instead of trying to encounter something outside of yourself. Is that?
Yeah. If you're still trying to, people always are coming to me, always interested. I had several students that actually came and joined the Ekstasis Institute for the express purpose of they wanted to hear my stories about the cloud of witnesses, and I very rarely ever shared anything about them. And I said, well, why do I need to share them? My speaking to you is just as valid as them speaking to me, or you hearing. Like, trying to encounter the cloud of witnesses is about as difficult as listening to myself talk.
I have people talking to me a lot. Is that a bad thing? Like, I feel like I'm learning from them.
It can be delusional. It can be mind. It can be all in the mind.
Okay.
It can be all in the playground. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's only bad when you take that delusion to the place where you believe that it's absolutely true or correct or right. Like, this is right, and now you're standing for something. Now you're against something, or it's causing anger or frustration, or it's causing rage, or it's causing that's all delusional. It's in your mind.
No, I mean, like, more like teaching.
It doesn't matter about the teaching. You can teach something that's delusional.
To stand for or against in the teaching that is being brought. It just, it's just pointing me to who I am from
Wonderful.
different sources.
Fine. What's your question?
I just didn't know if that was okay.
Of course it's okay. Are you going to ever hear me say it's not? Of course it's okay. What I'm saying is, a lot of times what happens is for a lot of the mind functions in this place. It functions in delusion, and it functions out of a place of emotion, and then it functions out of a place of thoughts and multiple different levels of thoughts before you actually will come to the place of stillness and silence. That's how the mind functions. And it's almost like you're climbing through these things mentally. And a lot of times in the world of delusion where the mind's still functioning and there's lots of different characters coming to me and different characters that I'm playing, different things that are taking place in my mind, and I'm not sure if it's real or if it's spirit or if it's not real or what's going on. A lot of that is in your mind. It's fine. This is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. All I'm saying is this. If it's coming, if there's something that's happening that's causing this rise for me to take a stand against something or rise up and this thing is wrong or this thing is that, you need to understand this is delusionment. And now it has gone from a place of just this illusionary realm that you're existing into a place of delusionment where it will actually begin to threaten that physical form. Then you rise up and you realize if you're still emotional, if you're having emotional swings continually, right, it's because of your thought life. You can blame it on whatever you want. You can blame it on others. You can blame it on your period. You can blame it on your whatever, but this is an emotional thought life. This is your thoughts are controlling your emotions and the swing of those emotions up and down. And then you start to recognize, once you recognize that and you grow beyond that, who you are begins to recognize, oh my God, you start to see the more subtle thoughts. And you see the blatant thoughts as well as the subtle thoughts. And you're able to rise beyond those. And in this place, this is the essence of who you are, which is abiding peace, perfect peace, abiding peace. This place of abiding peace, you can play in the emotional world, and you can play with those emotions, and you can play in these other places, and you can play in the world of even delusionment, play with characters and pretend and play. We all do this. We've done it when we were children. We still do. The difference is, in abiding peace, you never believe the thing. You don't believe it like it's not. For me to say I've talked to Enoch many years ago when I was teaching the talk, saying I talked to Enoch, and then Enoch came to me. For me to say that is no difference from when I said that then. There's no difference than me saying I've talked to Becca or I've talked to Brand. Zero difference. There's no difference there. It's just one.
So, like, what about this teaching? Like, you know, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are like going into the heavens, talking to like different people, the cloud of witnesses, talking about the value of that, of encountering different deceased saints or cloud of witnesses or whatever. Would you say that that's searching for something outside of yourself, and you should really just tune within and let, if they're gonna come to you, let them just come to you in that experience, in the union of that, in the simplicity of that, or you know, is it like there are actual like beings we can talk to that like we can set our intention to and we can meet with or whatever, look for?
Yeah, of course there is, but most of it is just going to lead straight to delusion. And those that are talking about, and I know because I've been through there, I've done that, going into courts and the councils of the kingdom of heaven and seeing certain things there and talking to the cloud of witnesses. And there are lots of things that I experienced there, and they were beautiful things that I experienced. And those things that I experienced, I'm not saying that they were wrong. I'm not saying that they were right. I'm not saying that they were complete delusion or not. Those things that were experienced were really beautiful. There were lots of beautiful lessons learned. What I know is this: what I learned there was far more important than what I experienced. And people are looking for experience. And you are always going to fall into the delusion when you do that. What you learn there might be important, but you'll always fall into delusion. I do not have to go anywhere because I am everywhere. You're still having to go into the kingdom of heaven. You've clearly, I was going to say you're an idiot, but I'm not going to say that. You've clearly not yet realized that the kingdom of heaven is within you. If you're still trying to meet with yourself in another form, if you're seeking to meet with Enoch, great, meet with Enoch. Enoch's real. The energy that is Enoch, the essence that is Enoch is still real. Is there still a distinct person there? Yeah, you can meet with Enoch. But if you think that's different than meeting with any other being, you're silly. And you met with the postman today. That is just as valid, just as important as a meeting with Enoch.
Right. So well, I understand that. So how do you actually do that though?
Do what?
I'm not trying to ask a how question, but how would you actually like do something like that if it's already within you?
Why would you want to?
Because they have wisdom to share, or
You want to find your own wisdom in someone else, then, don't you?
and more like in the sense of, I don't know, learning and growing and letting that change.
Only a fool comes to a teacher and asks, "Can I meet with another teacher?" Only a fool shows up at a teacher's door, knocks on the teacher's door, and says, "Excuse me, sir, how can I meet with another teacher? Would you give me the address to another teacher's house?"
So you're just saying it's all within.
Sure.
I think that I've never actually looked for anything. It just kind of happened.
Again, I'm not saying, I'm saying all of it, this is not complicated. This is actually very simple. It seems like it's being complicated.
I know. I'm just
This is all very simple. It's all within you. Every single thing is within you. We are one. Your essence and whatever the Spirit is not, you are not separate from Holy Spirit. You are not separate from Holy Spirit. There's not the Holy Spirit and then the unholy Spirit. Understand this. What you were taught within Christianity was there's the Holy Spirit and then there's demonic spirit. Because Christianity and every other religious system operates in duality. They operate out of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and call it wisdom. We call it discernment. This is the reason why there's a passage of scripture that says the wise, the mature one is the one that is able to discern between good and evil. Oh yeah, Adam eating from that tree. Oh boy, he just needed some STDs. My old boy was that. I'm not gonna explain the joke because I don't even know if I remember it. So the oh man, that's funny, isn't it? Yeah. To Austin and I, it's really funny to Austin. Austin.
That's it.
That is absolutely. Oh, Beth was there too, right? It was not funny to you.
It is funny.
Oh, it is funny to her.
That's why I laughed about it.
Oh, she's laughing too. Oh, Holy Spirit.
I think she's more laughing at you.
Most of the time, this is the case. This is how you know a great comedian. a great comedian is those that people laugh at. A comic is a comic. You laugh at a comic's jokes, but you laugh at the comedian. Oh man, it's so funny. So funny. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, I'm not sitting here going, oh yeah, you're the teacher, but show me another teacher. I'm saying, how can I experience what you experience? You encounter different people with cloud witnesses, so that's just, I'm just trying to say, how can I experience what you experience?
Yes, but I am pointing you to the moment that you're in. Don't seek to be outside of the moment you're in. You never can be. And there's a lot of people that are seeking a moment other than the one they're in because they have not realized the perfection of heaven right now. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. What was I saying before that? Before I started with the silliness? What was I saying? Does anyone remember? Did I lose everybody completely?
You lost yourself.
Oh man, it's so much fun.
They should never sought out the people to, and you were saying it's bad. Never said it was bad.
Yeah. There's a beauty in oneness, and there's a beauty in manifestation, and there's a beauty in this one spirit. We are one spirit together with him, rising up in Austin, in this personality and in this form that is Austin. There's a beauty in that. It's wonderful. Austin can do whatever he would like. It can never change the oneness. All the people that have cut me off and said I'm dead to them and done all this, we're one. If you ever see this, you are full of delusions. You're deluded. You're to think that you could be separated from me. It doesn't bother me one bit. The person will always bother the person because the person feels like there's you and there's me and I love you and you're being mean and you're cutting yourself off and this is so awful. But the one that realizes our oneness, they can never be cut off. That doesn't mean that I don't recognize the beauty that is in each one of these individual expressions that cut themselves off. And that doesn't mean that when I'm with that expression that I don't enjoy that expression. And even if you're having what seems to be spirit manifesting, what I'm saying is spirit manifesting in what appears to be Enoch, and this spirit says, I'm Enoch, is no different than, or Holy Spirit, or is no different than the spirit manifesting in Brant, and Brant shows up to you in form and says, hey guys, I'm Brant. You want to talk? No different. Zero difference. There's one spirit. What I'm saying is this, it's delusional if you're hearing something that is pointing you away from that which is true, that which is one, that which is now. Now you've entered into a world of delusion. You've become deluded in your thinking, clouded, and now you feel as if you are existing in a separated world of good and evil. And if you feel that you're living in a separated world of good and evil, and that whatever these teachings or things are pointing you to be against something, or to run from something, or to be opposed to something and to stand for something else. This is the world of good and evil. This is the world of duality. And now you've allowed your mind to create this world as serious, and you believe this is truth, this is real, and now it is creating. That's what I'm saying when it's creating delusion. Does it make sense?
So that's how to tell like if it's beneficial or
Yeah. How many times I could say this, from the time I was 3 until now, Jesus comes to me and meets with me. I don't know how many of those times might have been in my mind. I can't answer that. Many times it was in trance. I was completely out of my mind. Stuff still happened in my mind. Was it in my mind? I don't know. There have been times where Jesus showed up to me and appeared to be in form. Was it in my mind? Am I delusional? I don't know. What I know is this. The experience is not nearly as important as what I was learning, what I was growing in, expanding in. And what I say I met with Jesus, people go, oh my God, how did you meet with Jesus? Tell me how to meet with him. That's not important. What is important was what he shared and the growth that took place. Now, that was me in him. And him and me. This is why people thought Jesus was delusional. He goes, I am the Father are one. It's him and me, and I and him, and you and me, and I and you, that we may be one, and whoever is in me bears much fruit. If you're apart from me, in other words, you believe or you think that we are separate, you will bear no fruit. You cannot bear fruit apart from the vine. Jesus, every person would say Jesus is psychotic. And yet he was the one that was full of peace in the midst of the chaos, right? So what I'm saying is this. Regardless of whether it was actually Jesus in form showing up to me when I was a kid, or whether or not it was me in Jesus showing up, it doesn't make any difference. It's still Jesus. It's still the Christ revealing something beautiful. And if it's revealing or pointing to the light within you, to who you truly are, then this is wonderful. I don't care what form it's taken or not taken. This is still you. I am in Jesus. Anytime Jesus has ever shown up to you, I was there. I was in Christ when he hung. I was in Jesus when he hung on the cross. I died for you. And you died for you. Because there's one spirit.
But is it almost like all of these different forces that are speaking truth and kind of like sparking the remembering? They're all just one. Just taking,
of course.
Just in different.
Of course.
In different forms.
Of course.
Because it seems like they're so much smarter than me.
They are. Smarter is a mind thing, not an essence thing. Personality, seeing the difference in the persons and the personalities and the expressions is fun. It's good. Isn't that exciting? Isn't it fun to be able to see the differences and the different shapes and the colors? And that makes the world such a beautiful place. To see Beth's bubbly personality and sarcasm, and to know that, and to see yours and experience the differences, and to have that, it's beautiful and it's fun. Some people come and they recognize certain things. They come to me as a guru, or as a teacher, as whatever they want to call me, as a friend. People can come to me as that. Some people go, that's Silas' character. I don't even like listening to him. And so they go to somebody else. They find somewhere someone else. Whatever they're hearing. That's what matters. They're hearing. So it's the same spirit. There's zero competition. There's the same spirit. Did you just kill your guru?
Mm-hmm. He was so big.
He was really big.
He was really big.
Beth killed her guru. This is what everyone does to me too, Beth. It's okay.
You're pretty big too.
I could squat.
Bigger than some. We'll make spears twice the size of a man. Not all men are the same size. Your mother's been telling stories about me again, I see. Y'all didn't get those. I played 3 different characters from Braveheart, the movie Braveheart. I just did 3 different characters that just didn't have different voices.
You're not laughing at you.
Yeah, see, that's the sign of a good comedian. That's the sign of a good comedian when people laugh at you. Yes. Go ahead.
So if it doesn't actually matter, like, say you have an experience and you're like, I don't know if that was real, was that real, was that not real? That doesn't even matter in itself. It's actually, okay, was there a realization that you heard it that long? Even if it was
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
100% mind, even that, even realizing, hey, maybe my mind is taking control, even the realization of that is so much more than the experience. Like, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I've been saying that for so many years. And like I said, I had students that were coming just because they wanted to hear about my encounters with Enoch and all these guys, and they kept coming, and they got frustrated. And every time they would ask me, I'd be like, well, what was learned was important. I'm sharing with you what I learned, and all you want to hear about was the actual experience. I could actually be sharing with you what I learned and grew in, the revelation that was given, but all you want to hear about is the actual encounter and how you can too have the encounter. And I would just look at them and say, fool, you're a fool. Then they didn't come back to classes. Ah, goodness. I've become great at running people away, haven't I? It's what you're realizing, what you're learning, what you're growing in is far more important than just the experience itself.
Yeah.
There are things that you'll realize. We've done things together that have been a lot of fun. Like when we go for a hike and something. Like we went for that hike and we climbed Crabtree by ourselves, the 2 of us. And we've shared a lot. There was lots of deep things that we shared. And I'm sure there are things that you might have taken away from that. Little things that have been said, or little things that were shared that you might always remember. You might not remember the experience, or you might not remember where you heard it. The things that you took away, like, it just touched your being. You realize something beautiful about your essence, about who you truly are, about who we truly are. And those moments are far more powerful than where we geographically were, the experience that you were having. And whether it comes in, no matter where it comes, like I've said so many times, I said, people, I've had many gurus. I've had homeless gurus, prostitute gurus, stripper gurus, bug gurus, dog gurus, tree gurus. I've had many things point me to light, point me to who I truly am. Kobe has taught me more than most people. I've had flies teach me a whole lot more than most people. I've had strippers and prostitutes reveal things to me. They didn't even know they were doing it, but I heard something they said. It was like, sometimes it was revealing what you're not, who you are not. Sometimes it's not about revealing who you are. Sometimes it's about revealing who you're not, because when you realize who you're not, it's also realizing who you are. If you realize who you are not and you judge yourself like, I can't believe that's what I'm doing, you're not listening. In that moment, don't get mad. Rejoice because you realize who you are. Oh, that's not me! You get frustrated, you're pissed off, and you're angry. Don't go, why am I still getting angry? Stop and go, yeah, realize that's not me! Yes! Brrr! So don't judge yourself in those moments. Be excited. Rejoice. Rejoice. Something beautiful is being learned, growing, realizing something magnificent. Sometimes we're killing our gurus instead of learning from them. We're swatting them, sending them away. You remember the story about the flies? Embrace your guru, this story. You remember it? Austin remembers it.
I don't think you would.
Do you remember it, Becca?
Mm.
Do you remember the story? Embrace your guru? About the flies? I'll tell it again just because it's a good one. There was a young lady who searched for this guru for quite some time. She traveled all the way from America to India, found the guru, went to his hometown, spent lots of money. She goes and knocks on his door, and she says, I have been on a journey of awakening for the last several years, and this journey has led me to you, and I found you here, and I've come all the way from America because I want to be your student. I want to sit at your feet, and I want to be your student. And he said, he says, come follow me. And he walks out of the door, and he goes to the edge of town where the dump is. And he sits down at the dump, enters into a meditative state, meditative position, and he starts to meditate without saying a word to her. So she says she's kind of confused as to why he just took her to the dump. But she thinks, well, I should probably, as a student, demonstrate that I'm a good student and meditate with him. So she sits across from him and begins to meditate. Very quickly, she realizes how many flies are there. Flies are landing on her all over. The stench is horrible. Flies are landing on her, so she starts shooing the flies away. She notices he's just in perfect tranquility, and the flies are landing all over him, but he's not moving. He's just perfect peace, it seems. But the flies are landing. She's shooing them. Within a few minutes, she stops trying to shoot them, and she starts trying to kill them, but they keep landing on her. 30 minutes of this passes by. Guru's perfect peace, perfect stillness. And he rises after 30 minutes and just begins to walk. And so she, excited to leave the dump, gets up, walks behind him, goes back to his home. He enters the home, he turns around with the door and begins to shut it in her face and says, it was lovely meeting you. And he begins to close the door behind him. And she goes, whoa, wait, I came all the way from America to be your student. Are you going to accept me as your student or not? And he goes, many gurus came to you today. Some you shoot away, others you killed. If you killed them and shooed them away, I fear what you might do to me. And he shut the door in her face. I love that story. No, you don't like it? Becca's shaking her head no. I love that story.
I have these flies in my car.
Yeah, you don't like the story because you keep killing your guru.
And I was thinking about that story, so I was trying not to do anything about it, but then one of them landed on my lips, and that was the end.
Should open your mouth up.
Yeah.
Open your front door.
Eat it. I ate my
Embrace
guru.
the guru.
The guru would be excited that at least you gained part of you. See, understand that spirit manifests in many forms. And if something's annoying to you, this is an opportunity for you to realize the one that is annoyed is not you. Sometimes the guru's job is to annoy the shit out of you until you realize it's not you. Flies are great gurus, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Spiders are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things come to you to teach you something. What if I've told you I've learned just as much from Kobe, my dog, as I have from Enoch? Would that insult you? It's not about the vessel or the form that it shows up in. It's about what is being learned. If you make it about the form, you'll make it about the experience. But if you realize it's all about the light that shines beyond the experience, this is beautiful. Is there another question? It's been great questions. Wonderful. I've enjoyed them all. Beth says, you enjoy everything. This is true, too. Oh, that's funny. Yes. I enjoy even STDs! Becca just shakes her head. Oh, man. Woo! Yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
Why did the pirate have to walk the plank?
Because she had too many STDs. Oh, man. For all the students, this is for the class. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 students here in person. But for all the students that didn't show up, which is almost all of you, I'm not sure why. Matter of fact, even the 2 people that registered and paid for registration aren't even here, so it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, that's okay too. You'll get this recording and you'll hear that it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't have to. There's zero judgment. You can register all you want and not come, or even come to the class, be a part of the classes and not come. That's up to you. So it's just no big deal to me. But for all of you, they're going to be scratching their head as they watch this going, what in the world is he talking about STDs? Because she had doing it. You would have had to been there. That's only those that were in person get to experience the full beauty of that joke right there. It was Austin's fault. I blame Austin.
I blame Austin all the time. I encourage you.
No, this was he started it. It was a joke. Okay, so Beth was doing a morning corny, which is from the show, one of her favorite radio stations, this little show. And she started with the joke. She was saying jokes, and one of the jokes was, why was the pirate made to walk the plank? And Austin immediately responds with, because she had too many STDs. It created this, erupted out of me. Of course that wasn't the answer to the joke, but it is now. I erupted with laughter, and we've been talking about it ever since.
Except for the 2 weeks that we didn't.
Except for when we didn't.
Literally, it came from nowhere. He literally just said.
He said because every time he thinks of pirates, he thinks of STDs. I don't know why.
So now it's just the answer to everything.
The dirty boy. So for all you students out there that didn't, yeah, it's Austin's fault. Blame it on him. Well, we'll end there. We'll just end on this note. Whoever said spiritual things aren't fun are stupid, right? Spiritual things aren't fun. Well, I'm just kidding. See, that's called joking. No, I'm not really serious. I really don't think you're stupid. Or do I? No, it's been fun, been good. Thanks for David. I haven't seen you, but you're there, and Dean, love you guys. You guys are beautiful, amazing. Love having you guys here and present. And for Brant, and Beth, and Becca, and Austin, it's been good. I've enjoyed it. Unless there is seriously another question. If there is another question stirring, I will take time to answer. If not, we'll just wrap up there, and we'll wrap up right there. So, there is mentorship tomorrow night. There is no general studies class. And remember, if you remember anything from today, remember, STD! Oh man. Oh, somebody will ask, well, what was learned about the Satsang? Because she had too many. All right. Love you guys. Love you, Dean. Love you, David.
Love
Love
you.
you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully. Talk to you guys soon. Good night. Good day.
Good night.
Whatever day at time it is.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our video. Give us a thumbs up, comment, thoughts, questions in the section below. Let us know what you want to hear from us. Subscribe to our channel for more life-changing content. And as always, check the section below for our website, for live events, where we'll be, what we're up to, more about us, and our online school website is listed below as well. We love you. We're glad you're here. We want to hear from you. We're in this with you.